Listen to me, because we need to talk about that moment. You know the one. It's the single most defining split second in the entire history of Berserk. The snowy field, the morning light hitting the steel. Guts, the Black Swordsman, standing opposite Griffith, the White Hawk. It's the moment where the entire world fractured. In the story we know, Guts swings that massive sword, breaks Griffith's blade, and walks away. That walk away, that was the trigger for the eclipse. That was the domino that knocked down the entire world and turned it into a living hell. But I want you to close your eyes and imagine something else. I want you to picture the exact same scene. The biting cold wind, the crunch of snow under heavy boots, the condensation of their breath in the air. Griffith charges. He's desperate. He's not fighting with his usual grace. He's fighting like a jealous child who's about to lose his favorite toy. He lunges. Guts swings. But this time, Guts doesn't break the sword. This is where the timeline splits. In our reality, Guts wanted to be Griffith's equal. He took those words about true friendship to heart and decided he had to leave to find his own dream. But look at Guts' face in that scene again. He's not angry. He's sad. He loves these people. He loves Casca. He respects Griffith. And deep down, Guts is a guy who is terrified of being alone, even if he pretends he's a lone wolf. So, imagine the blade stops an inch from Griffith's neck. The metal doesn't shatter. There's just this heavy, suffocating silence. The snow keeps falling, landing on their hair, on the cold steel. Guts looks at Griffith, really looks at him, and he sees something he missed before. He sees the panic. He sees the fragility behind that perfect, godlike mask. And Guts, being the guy who always sacrifices his body for others, decides to sacrifice his dream instead. He lowers the sword. He sighs, that deep, chest-rattling sigh of a man giving up. "Fine," he says, his voice rough, scratching against the silence. "I'll stay. If I mean that much to you, Griffith, I won't go." Can you feel the weight of that? It sounds like a happy ending, right? The band stays together. No torture chamber, no eclipse, no demons eating everyone you love. But let me tell you, darkness isn't always a whirlwind of monsters. Sometimes darkness is a slow, creeping rot. Sometimes destiny doesn't scream. It whispers. If Guts stays, he saves Griffith's sanity in the short term, but he kills something inside himself. That morning, they walk back to the camp together. Casca runs out, tears in her eyes, expecting to see Guts walking away, but instead, she sees them returning. She should be happy. She is happy. But there's a look in Guts' eyes that haunts her. It's the look of a wolf that just walked voluntarily into a cage and heard the lock click shut. For the next year, everything goes perfectly. And that's the problem. Without Guts leaving, Griffith doesn't spiral. He doesn't make that reckless, self-destructive mistake of sleeping with Princess Charlotte that very night. He keeps his cool. He keeps his mask on tight. The Band of the Hawk continues its meteoric rise. They are the heroes of Midland. The 100-Year War ends not with a chaotic scramble, but with a decisive, crushing victory, led by the White Hawk and his Black Swordsman. They are paraded through the streets of Wyndham. Flowers rain down on them. They are given titles, lands, nobility. It's everything Griffith ever said he wanted. He's getting his kingdom, brick by brick. But let's look at Guts. In the original timeline, leaving the Hawks was Guts' first step toward becoming a real person. It was his struggle to find himself. By staying, he rejects that struggle. He becomes exactly what he feared, a tool. a weapon in another man's sheath. Imagine the banquets. Guts, standing in the corner in some uncomfortable velvet doublet that doesn't fit his broad shoulders, holding a wine glass he wants to crush, watching Griffith charm the nobles. The courtiers whisper. They look at Guts like he's a dangerous pet that Griffith brought indoors. That's the mad dog, they say, the hawk's favorite killer. Guts hates it. He hates the perfume, the lies, the politics. But he promised. He stayed. So he swallows his rage and drinks the wine. He stops training as hard because there are no wars left to fight. The calluses on his hands soften just a fraction. The fire in his eyes dims. And what about Griffith? This is the scary part. Griffith possesses Guts now. He won. But Griffith is smart. He realizes that Guts stayed out of pity, not respect. And that eats at him. Every time he looks at Guts, he doesn't see an equal. He sees a servant who knows his master's weakness. The dynamic shifts. Griffith becomes more controlling, more possessive. He starts deploying Guts on missions that are beneath him, just to prove he still holds the leash. Go clear out those bandits, Guts. Stand guard at my door, Guts. It's subtle, psychological torture. Griffith loves Guts, but he hates that he needs him. It's a toxic codependency that rots the soul of the Band of the Hawk from the inside out. They aren't a family of mercenaries anymore. They are a private army for a rising politician. The campfire camaraderie dies out, replaced by cold stone halls and rigid military protocol. Casca sees it all. She's the heart of this trio, and she's watching the two men she loves slowly die inside. She sees Guts becoming a shell, a man walking through life asleep. She sees Griffith becoming colder, more distant, his ambition becoming a jagged thing that cuts anyone who gets too close. She tries to talk to Guts one night on the castle ramparts. The wind is howling, reminding them of that snowy day. "You're unhappy," she says. It's not a question. Guts just looks out at the darkness. "I'm where I'm supposed to be," he grunts. But he doesn't believe it. He's lying to her, and he's lying to himself. He gave up his destiny to protect Griffith's dream, and the sacrifice is eating him alive. This is the struggle we face in real life, isn't it? Staying in a job, a relationship, or a town, because we feel we owe it to someone, even as we feel our own potential withering away. Guts is mirroring that stagnation. He's safe, but he's not living. But here is the hook, the thing that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up, the behalit. The crimson behalit is still hanging around Griffith's neck. It didn't disappear. It didn't get lost in a river. It's right there, resting against his skin, warm and pulsating. The God Hand are waiting. They don't care about the timeline. They care about the causality. The eclipse was destined to happen. The details might change, but the event itself, that's a fixed point. The behalit screams in Griffith's dreams. He wakes up in cold sweats, hearing voices. "Eyes sacrifice," the voices whisper. He brushes it off as stress, but the pressure is building. Midland is peaceful, but peace is boring for men of ambition. The king of Midland is old, and he's wary of Griffith now. In the original timeline, Griffith was a fallen martyr, a broken angel. Here, he's a powerful, charismatic general with a private army that is more loyal to him than to the crown. The king isn't stupid. He sees a usurper. The paranoia that led to the torture chamber is still there, but it manifests differently. The king starts to move against the Hawks politically. He cuts their funding. He spreads rumors. He tries to separate Griffith from Charlotte, not by imprisonment, but by arranging a marriage for her with a foreign prince, someone powerful from a neighboring nation like Tudor or Kushan. This threatens everything Griffith has built. His path to the throne is being blocked, not by a mistake he made, but by the system itself. And Guts is just waiting for a fight that never comes. He starts to have nightmares of his own. The beast of darkness, that inner demon that represents his rage, starts scratching at the door of his mind, not because of trauma, but because of repression. A warrior who cannot fight is a dangerous thing. One night, a group of assassins sent by a rival noble, or perhaps the king himself, tries to kill Griffith in his sleep. Standard political maneuvering. Guts intercepts them. And this is where we see the damage. Guts doesn't just kill them. He obliterates them. He goes berserk in the hallway, painting the walls red. It's overkill. It's terrifying. When Griffith comes out and sees the carnage, he sees Guts standing in a pile of meat, panting, eyes wide and wild. For a second, Guts looks like Zod. He looks like a monster. And Griffith feels a shiver of true fear, not for his life, but of what his friend is becoming. Guts looks at his blood-soaked hands and realizes he enjoyed it. He missed the violence. He missed the struggle. The peace is a lie. This incident wakes everyone up. The illusion of the happy ending cracks. The Band of the Hawk realizes they are walking on thin ice. The king is making his move. Griffith is cornered legally and politically. He can't just seduce the princess now. He has too much to lose, and he's too high profile. He needs a new plan. And the Behalit. The Behalit opens an eye, just a slit. It senses the desperation returning. It senses that Griffith is realizing that playing by the rules won't get him his castle. The path of the White Hawk, who plays politics, is failing. The path of the demon is beckoning. Then the hammer drops. The king of Midland dies. Suddenly. Maybe it's natural causes, maybe it's poison. Griffith isn't above that. But the king is dead. The realm is thrown into chaos. The queen, or the stepmother figure, advisors, moves instantly to arrest Griffith, accusing him of regicide to get him out of the picture. The Golden Age dissolves overnight. We are back to the Hawks being outlaws, but this time they aren't a small band of mercenaries. They are a massive army camped outside the capital. And they have Guts. But this isn't the Guts who found his way. This is a Guts who is frustrated, repressed, and desperate for a release. Griffith stands in his tent. The warrant for his arrest has just arrived. The Behalit is vibrating against his chest, humming like a high-tension wire. He looks at Guts, who is polishing his sword in the corner, looking grim and ready for violence. Griffith realizes that, despite all his careful planning, despite Guts staying, he is back at the precipice. The world won't let him have his dream, not the clean way. He looks at his friend, his possession, and a dark thought crosses his mind, a thought that was planted by the God Hand long ago. If I cannot rise, then I will burn it all down. The causality is correcting itself. The pieces are moving into place for a sacrifice, but the dynamic is different. Guts isn't the one who got away. He's the one standing right next to the altar, unaware that the knife is already being sharpened. The chapter ends with the Band of the Hawk surrounded. The royal army is closing in. It looks like a battle they can win, but the air feels heavy, thick with astral pressure. Zod watches from a distant hill, arms crossed, grinning. He knows. He warned Guts once. If you call this man friend, your death will be a destined thing. Guts didn't leave. He ignored the warning. And now, the bill is coming due. The sun begins to set, turning the sky a deep, bruised purple, the color of a bruise, the color of the eclipse. Griffith draws his sword, points it at the incoming army, and gives the order to charge. But his eyes aren't on the enemy. They are fixed on the castle in the distance, and the Behalit screams silently, a sound only he can hear. The stage is set. The actors are in place. But the script has changed, and the tragedy is about to be so much worse, because this time they think they're together. They think they're safe. You can hear it, can't you? That specific sound of metal cleaving through meat and bone. It's wet, it's heavy, and it's sickening. In the original story, Guts fought to survive, to protect, or to escape. But the way he is fighting right now, outside the walls of Wyndham, is different. It's disturbingly different. He isn't fighting a duel. He is conducting an execution. The Royal Army, the same men who were throwing flowers at the Band of the Hawk just days ago, are now dying in droves, and they look terrified, not just because they are losing, but because of how they are dying. Guts is tearing through them with a ferocity that feels desperate. He's not using technique. He's using pure, unadulterated rage. He is screaming with every swing, a guttural roar that drowns out the clash of steel. Why? Because he's venting. Every soldier he cuts down is a proxy for the frustration burning a hole in his gut. He stayed. He sacrificed his freedom. And for what? To be branded a criminal? To be hunted like a dog again? The injustice of it fuels the beast of darkness that is waking up early in his soul. It whispers to him that violence is the only truth, that this bloodshed is the only place where he makes sense anymore. Griffith watches from the rear, atop his white horse. But he doesn't look like the glorious general anymore. His armor is pristine, yes, but his face is pale, his eyes wide and unblinking. He sees Guts destroying an entire flank of the enemy army single-handedly, and he hates it. In the original timeline, Griffith admired Guts' strength because it was useful. Now, he resents it. He sees Guts' power as a reminder of his own lack of control. Griffith is supposed to be the architect, the god of this battlefield, but he's been reduced to a spectator in the Guts show. The soldiers are chanting, "Guts, Guts," not Griffith. The shift is subtle, but to a narcissist like Griffith, it's a sledgehammer to the ego. He feels the reins of destiny slipping through his fingers. He stayed in the cage of the court too long, played the game by their rules, and they cheated him. Now, his friend is the only thing keeping him alive, and that dependency tastes like bile in his throat. This is the rot I told you about. It's not the torture dungeon. It's the slow erosion of his self-worth while he is still standing tall. The battle ends. It's a victory, technically. The Royal Army retreats, broken by the sheer savagery of the Hawks. But there is no cheering, no victory lap. The field is a muddy slurry of blood and slush. The Hawks stand there, panting, looking at their leaders. They are confused. Are we the bad guys now? Why are we killing the king's men? Corcus is the first to voice it, spitting on the ground, his voice trembling. This is insane. We were nobles yesterday. Now we're digging in the mud like pigs again. What the hell is the plan, Griffith? Everyone looks at the White Hawk, and for the first time, Griffith doesn't have a perfect answer. He doesn't have a poetic speech about dreams. He just stares at the castle in the distance, the setting sun turning the stone towers into a silhouette that looks like a tombstone. "We march," he says coldly. "We take what is ours." Guts wipes the blood off his face, smearing it into a dark mask. He walks up to Griffith, and the tension is thick enough to choke on. "March where?" Guts asks, his voice rough. "We can't take the capital, Griffith. We don't have the numbers. We need to regroup. Fall back to the river. It's sound tactical advice. It's the smart play. But Griffith hears it as insubordination. He hears guts telling him he's weak. Griffith snaps his head around, his blue eyes icy and manic. I did not ask for your opinion, Guts. You stayed to follow me. So follow. Or did you lie to me in the snow? That's the dagger. He uses Guts' loyalty as a weapon against him. Guts flinches. He grinds his teeth, his jaw muscle popping. He wants to scream that he's trying to save Griffith's life, but the words die in his throat. He nods, defeated again. Fine. We march. Casca watches this exchange, and her heart breaks. She sees the madness creeping into Griffith's eyes. She tries to reach out to him, to touch his arm, but he pulls away, as if her touch burns. Prepare the men, he orders, his voice hollow. Casca looks at Guts, pleading silently for him to do something to stop this suicide mission. But Guts just turns away, staring into the darkness. He's resigned. He thinks if he just fights hard enough, he can fix it. He thinks if he swings his sword fast enough, he can cut through the bad luck. But you can't cut destiny with a sword, can you? Not yet. The tragedy here is that Casca is the only one seeing reality. The two men are lost in their own heads, one in his ambition, the other in his repression. That night, the camp is silent. No songs, no drinking. The hawks are terrified. They can feel the mood shifting. The wind is picking up, howling through the trees like the screams of the damned. Guts sits by a dying fire, sharpening his sword. The scrape, scrape, scrape of the whetstone is the only sound. He's thinking about the Zod prophecy. If you be this man's friend. He pushes it away. He tells himself Zod was just a monster, talking nonsense. But then he looks up and sees something that freezes his blood. In the shadows of the forest, just beyond the firelight, he sees shapes. Not soldiers. Distorted, twisted shapes. Watching. Waiting. The astral world is leaking into the physical one. The barrier is thinning. The God Hand is getting impatient. They are setting the stage. Griffith is in his tent, alone. He isn't sleeping. He's holding the crimson behelit. It's staring at him. The face on the egg seems to be smirking. Griffith feels a wave of nausea. He remembers his childhood, the boy who wanted wings. He remembers the piles of corpses he stood on to get here. Was it all for nothing? He lost the king's favor. He lost his title. And now he's leading his men to a slaughter just to soothe his bruised ego. A moment of clarity hits him. A terrifying moment of sanity. I am going to kill them all, he thinks. Everyone who follows me is going to die because I can't let go. But instead of stopping, he doubles down. That's the nature of the hawk. He cannot land. He can only fly until he crashes. He clutches the behelit so hard his knuckles turn white. I will not fall, he whispers to the plastic-looking face. I will not return to the dirt. The behelit's eye twitches. It hears him. The next morning, the march begins. They move towards Wyndham, but they are intercepted. Not by the regular army, but by the Black Dog Knights. Wyald is here. In this timeline, the king sends Wyald not to capture a broken prisoner, but to crush a rebel army. The encounter is brutal. Wyald is a monster, an apostle, a terrifying, grotesque giant who revels in pain. The hawks are outmatched, ordinary soldiers against a demon. Panic sets in. Men are being torn apart, eaten, crushed. It's a massacre. Guts sees Wyald and realizes this is Zod all over again. He charges. This fight is legendary. It's Guts versus Wyald, but Guts is fueled by that dark, repressed rage I mentioned. He fights like a demon himself. He takes hits that should kill him, gets back up, and keeps swinging. He eventually kills Wyald, decapitating the beast in a spray of gore. But the cost is astronomical. Half the hawks are dead. Casca is wounded. Guts is barely standing, covered in wounds, one eye swollen shut. And Griffith? Griffith stood there and watched. He couldn't do anything. His rapier is useless against a monster like that. He saw Guts slay a dragon, metaphorically, while he stood helpless. The soldiers who survived are looking at Guts with awe, calling him their savior. Captain Guts saved us. Long live Guts. The chant starts low and builds. It echoes in Griffith's ears like a mockery. Long live Guts. Not Griffith. Guts. The hero. The savior. The strong one. Griffith feels something snap inside his chest. It's the last tether to his humanity. He feels intense, burning jealousy. It's ugly. It's raw. He looks at his shaking hands. He is the leader, but he is powerless. He is the dream, but Guts is the reality. They limp away from the battlefield, retreating into the foggy marshlands to escape reinforcements. The atmosphere is apocalyptic. The sky is a weird, bruised purple color, even though it's midday. The sun looks sickly. The birds have stopped singing. The silence is heavy, pressing down on their skulls. Griffith rides in a carriage now, claiming fatigue, but really he's hiding. He can't bear to let them see his face. Inside the carriage, he starts to hallucinate. He sees the walls of the carriage closing in. He sees the faces of the dead soldiers he sacrificed. They are laughing at him. "You failed," they whisper. "You're just a commoner with big ideas. You're nothing without him." Guts rides beside the carriage, worried. He taps on the window. "Griffith, we need to stop. The horses are blown." Griffith lowers the window. His face is gaunt, his eyes shadowed. He looks like a ghost. "We don't stop," Griffith hisses. "We are almost there." Guts frowns. "Almost where? Wyndham is heavily fortified." "We can't siege it with 50 men, Griffith. It's suicide." And then Griffith says it. The words that change everything. He looks Guts dead in the eye, with a look of pure, distilled hatred mixed with love. "You said you belonged to me, Guts. So die for me. If that's what it takes to get my castle, then die for me." Guts pulls back, shocked. It's like being slapped. He sees the madness finally revealed. This isn't the cool, calculated leader anymore. This is a desperate addict needing his fix of power. Guts stops his horse. The entire column stops. The rain starts to fall. Cold, black rain that smells like iron. Guts looks at the men, bleeding, scared, looking to him for answers. Then he looks at the carriage. He makes a decision. "No," Guts says, quietly at first, then louder. "No, I won't let you throw them away, Griffith." Griffith steps out of the carriage. He draws his sword. His movement is shaky. "You defy me?" he screams, his voice cracking. "You are mine." He lunges at Guts. It's pathetic. It's heartbreaking. Guts doesn't even draw his sword. He just catches Griffith's wrist. He holds it there. The strength difference is undeniable. Guts looks at Griffith with profound sadness. "I stayed because I was your friend, Griffith. But you're not him anymore." He pushes Griffith back. Griffith stumbles and falls into the mud. The White Hawk, face down in the dirt. The soldiers gasp. This is the moment. The absolute rock bottom. Griffith lifts his head. Mud covers his beautiful face. He looks up and sees Guts towering over him, silhouetted against the dark sky. He sees Casca rushing to Guts' side, not his. He sees the pity in their eyes. Pity. The one thing he cannot survive. He realizes he has lost everything, not his kingdom, but his dignity, his image, his control. He is on the ground, and they are looking down on him. The despair is infinite. It opens a hole in the world. He reaches into his tunic. The Behelit is there, It's hot. It's screaming. But wait, he dropped it. When he fell in the mud, the Behalit slipped out. It rolled away into a puddle. Griffith sees it. He scrambles for it on his hands and knees, desperate, pathetic, clawing through the sludge. "My dream," he sobs. "Give it back." He looks like a beggar. Guts takes a step forward to help him, to pick him up. "Griffith, stop!" But as Griffith's fingers touch the crimson Behalit in the muddy water, the world stops. Literally stops. The rain freezes in midair. The wind dies. The sound of the horses vanishes. The light shifts from the gray of the storm to a deep, blood-red hue. The sun creates a ring, an eclipse, but not a normal one. The sun turns black, rimmed with fire. The puddle reflects the face of the Behalit, which has rearranged itself. The eyes are open. The mouth is screaming. Griffith looks up. The landscape around them, the marsh, the trees, melts away. The ground turns into faces, giant stone faces screaming in agony. They aren't in Midland anymore. They have been pulled into the interstices. The soldiers start screaming as the dimensions overlap. Guts reaches for his sword, but the air is thick like syrup. He can't move fast enough. He looks at Griffith, and he sees the tears washing away the mud on Griffith's face. Griffith isn't looking at Guts anymore. He's looking at the sky. 4 giant figures are descending. Angels? No. Void, Slan, Ubik, Conrad. The God Hand has arrived. Guts yells, "Griffith, don't look at them. We have to go." But Griffith is mesmerized. He stands up, the Behalit clutched in his hand. He feels the power radiating from the figures. Void speaks, his voice echoing inside their brains, not their ears. The time has come. The master of the castle has fallen, but the king of longing rises. They float down, surrounding the band of the hawk. The soldiers are freezing in terror. The hook here isn't just the monsters appearing. It's the realization of where they are. They aren't in a dungeon. They are out in the open, and they are all together. In the original, the hawks were outside, unaware. Here, they are all in the circle. Every single survivor of the wild fight is present for the ceremony. They are all front row seats to the end of the world. Ubik floats closer to Griffith, whispering, showing him visions of his future, a future where he is an old, forgotten beggar, fed by Guts and Casca, out of pity. "Is this what you desire?" Ubik giggles. "To be the burden? To be the shadow?" Griffith shakes his head violently. "No." "Then sever the ties," Slan whispers, her voice like velvet and razor blades. "The weight that holds you to the earth, the friendship that makes you weak, sacrifice it. Pile the bodies of your precious comrades up to the sky and climb them to your dream." Griffith turns. He looks at the band of the hawk. He looks at Pippin, at Judeau, at Corcus. He looks at Casca. And finally, he looks at Guts. Guts is fighting against the pressure, trying to step forward, sword drawn. "Griffith, don't listen to them," Guts roars. But Griffith sees something else. He sees the man who made him forget his dream. He sees the man who made him weak. He sees the obstacle. The love he feels for Guts twists in that accursed red light into the justification for the ultimate betrayal. If Guts is the most important thing in the world to him, then Guts is the only payment sufficient for a godhood. Griffith lifts his hand. He points at Guts. He points at all of them. His lips move. There is no hesitation this time. No long internal monologue about a boy running after a kite. Just cold, hard bitterness. "I sacrifice," he says. The words boom like thunder. The brand of sacrifice appears. It sears into Guts' neck, Casca's chest, Judeau's arm. The pain is blinding, and from the ground, from the darkness, the apostles rise. Not a few, hundreds, a festival of flesh. The feast has begun, but this time Guts is armed. He has his sword. He is not broken from a year of wandering. He is enraged, fresh from killing wild, and standing right next to the new god. The chapter ends with Guts locking eyes with Griffith as the demons lunge. The look isn't confusion anymore. It's recognition. You chose this, Guts's eyes say. So be it. He swings his sword, not at a demon, but directly at the bubble of light forming around Griffith. He's going to try to kill the god before he is born. You know that sound? When you drop a heavy ceramic plate on a stone floor? That sharp, jarring crack that signals something is broken beyond repair? That is the sound that echoes through the crimson dimension as Guts's sword hits the invisible barrier surrounding Griffith. In the canon, Guts was helpless, pinned down, watching from a distance. But here, he is right there. He is 0 distance away. He swings that massive slab of iron with every ounce of frustration, betrayal, and love he has buried for the last year. Clang! The shock wave ripples out, knocking the lesser demons back. For a second, just a fraction of a second, the barrier flickers. The face of the Behelit, floating inside that embryonic sack of light, seems to flinch. This is the struggle in its purest form. It's one man screaming no to the entire universe. But the universe doesn't care. The sword snaps. It shatters into 1,000 shards of useless metal. Guts is left holding a jagged hilt, his hands vibrating from the impact, blood trickling down his fingers. He stares at the cocoon, panting, and he realizes with a sinking heart that steel cannot cut destiny. Not this kind. The feast begins, and I need you to understand the difference in this timeline. The Band of the Hawk isn't just a group of panicked victims running in circles. They are soldiers who just killed an apostle. They are adrenaline-fueled, battle-hardened, and cornered. They don't just scream. They fight. Pippin doesn't just let himself be eaten. He grabs a demon by the throat and crushes its windpipe before 3 more tear him apart. It's a mosh pit of gore. It's ugly, chaotic, and loud. The apostles are laughing, delighted by the resistance. They fight. They squirm. It makes the meat sweeter. One of them gurgles. Guts spins around, the broken sword still in his hand, and he becomes a whirlwind. He's not fighting to win. He's fighting to clear a path to Casca. She's only 10 feet away, but in this madness, 10 feet might as well be 10 miles. Casca, get behind me! Guts roars, his voice tearing at his vocal cords. He drives the jagged hilt of his broken sword into the eye of a monster that looks like a walking tree of intestines. He rips it out, black blood spraying over his face. He looks like a demon himself. Casca is fighting too, parrying strikes, moving with that fluid grace we love her for. But she's crying. She's screaming Griffith's name. She still can't process it. She saw him say, "I sacrifice." She heard it, but her heart refuses to accept that the man she worshipped, the man Guts stayed for, just sold them all for a pair of wings. This denial is lethal. A demon swipes at her, catching her off guard, and Guts throws himself in the way. Crunch. The blow takes a chunk out of his shoulder. He grunts, stumbles, but doesn't fall. He can't fall. If he falls, she dies. Judo sees this. Good old Judo. The man who always knew everything but never said enough. He's dual-wielding knives, dancing around a sluggish behemoth. But he sees the tide turning. He sees Guts taking too much damage. In the original, Judo died trying to get Casca out. Here, he realizes something else. He realizes that Guts is the only thing that matters now. Guts is the only one who can survive this. Judo looks at Guts, locks eyes with him, a across the slaughter. He smiles, that sad, knowing smile. "Don't die, you idiot!" Judo yells. He throws his last throwing knives, not at the demons attacking him, but at the one circling Guts' blind spot. It buys Guts a second, a precious second. Then a massive claw descends, and Judo is gone. Just like that. No long speech, no final confession, just a smear of red on the dark ground. The silence of his absence is louder than the screams. Guts sees it. He feels it. A part of him dies with Judo. The rage spikes. The beast of darkness isn't scratching at the door anymore. It has kicked the door off its hinges. Guts drops the broken hilt. He grabs a horn ripped from a dead demon and uses it as a shank. He's biting, clawing, head-butting. He is pure violence. He reaches Casca, grabs her arm, and pulls her close. They are back to back, surrounded by a coliseum of nightmares. "We have to move," Guts rasps. "We have to find the edge." But there is no edge. The landscape is infinite. Giant faces made of stone rise from the ground, singing in a low, vibrating drone that rattles your teeth. Void floats above them, his brain exposed, narrating the apocalypse like a bored priest. In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? The words worm into Guts' brain. He hates them. He wants to shut that skeleton up. Then the light shifts. The cocoon descends. The heartbeat stops. The birth happens. The shell cracks open, peeling away like dead skin, and there he is. Femto, the wings of darkness. He is beautiful in a way that makes you want to vomit. Sleek, black, devoid of any human warmth. He doesn't look like Griffith anymore, yet he is unmistakably him. He floats down, landing on one of the giant stone fingers. He doesn't look at the demons. He doesn't look at the chaos. He looks directly at Guts. This is the moment that breaks the timeline wide open. In the canon, Femto ignores Guts at first. Here, the connection is too deep. Guts stayed. Guts was the possession that refused to be owned and then voluntarily submitted, only to rebel again. Femto sees Guts standing there, covered in the blood of the sacrifice, holding Casca. And Femto feels nothing. No love, no hate. Just a cold, calculating desire to assert dominance. To prove that the friendship is dead. To prove that he is a god and Guts is just an insect. He points a finger. A wave of force, heavy as a collapsing building, slams Guts into the ground. It pins him there. He can't move. He can't breathe. His bones creak. He watches, helpless, his face pressed into the flesh mud of the floor. Femto glides toward Casca. The horror of this scene is not something I tell you for shock value. It's the emotional crater of the story. It's the ultimate betrayal. Griffith isn't doing this for pleasure. He's doing it to sever the last tie. He is desecrating the memory of the Band of the Hawk. He grabs Casca. She's paralyzed by fear and the sheer aura of him. And as the atrocity begins, Femto keeps his eyes locked on Guts. He wants Guts to see. He wants Guts to know that his sacrifice, staying in the band, giving up his dream, was pointless. Look, Femto's eyes seem to say. Look at what your loyalty bought you. Guts goes insane. I don't mean angry. I mean his mind fractures. He snaps his own arm to get free from the telekinetic hold. You hear the bone break, a wet snap. He screams, a sound that isn't human. He scrambles forward, dragging his broken body, a knife in his teeth. An apostle tries to bite him. Guts jams his thumb into its eye and keeps moving. He is a force of nature. He gets close. He actually gets close enough to touch Femto's wing. He swings the knife. Clink. It bounces off the black armor like a toothpick against a tank. Femto doesn't even flinch. He just looks down at Guts, with that blank, helmeted stare. The message is clear. You are nothing. Then the sky tears open. The Skull Knight arrives. He bursts through the dimension like a wrecking ball, riding his skeletal horse. He is the glitch in the Matrix. He wasn't invited to the party. He charges straight for void, distracting the God Hand. The pressure lifts for a microsecond. Skull Knight swoops down. He sees Guts and Casca. He knows the prophecy. He knows this is the struggling fish. He grabs Guts and Casca in one fluid motion, swallowing them into his cloak. No, he throws them onto the back of his horse. Hold on if you wish to exist. His hollow voice booms. Femto reacts. He raises a hand to crush them into a singularity. He twists space itself. The horse's flank is clipped. Blood or dust sprays. But the Skull Knight swings his sword of Beherits, cutting a hole in the dimension. They dive through. The transition is violent. It feels like being pulled through a straw. The red light vanishes, replaced by the cool, dark air of the physical world. They tumble out onto the grass of the haunting grounds, miles away from the vortex. Guts hits the ground hard. He rolls, coughing up blood. He's missing an arm from the break bite. His eye is gouged out. His body is a map of lacerations. He looks over. Casca is lying there, curled in a fetal position, staring at nothing. Her mind is gone. She has retreated into a safe place where Griffith is still the White Hawk, and none of this happened. Guts crawls to her. He touches her face with his trembling, blood-stained hand. "Casca," he whispers. She doesn't respond. She flinches away from him. That flinch, that's the knife twisting in the wound. She's afraid of him. Guts rolls onto his back and looks at the sky. The eclipse is ending. The sun is returning to normal. The birds are starting to chirp again. It's the most offensive thing in the world, that nature just carries on. He lies there, and the weight of his decision crushes him. I stayed, he thinks. I stayed to save him. And because I stayed, I fed him. The guilt is different here. It's not survivor's guilt. It's perpetrator's guilt. He feels responsible. If he had left, maybe Griffith would have fallen differently. Maybe the timing would have been off. But by staying, he gathered all the wood for the fire, and then watched it burn. Rickard arrives. He was out fetching water or tending to the wounded away from the main camp. He finds them. He sees the carnage of the vortex site from a distance, the storm dissipating. He runs over, finding the Skull Knight standing guard over the two broken bodies. "Guts! Casca!" Rickard screams, falling to his knees. He looks at Guts's missing arm, the bleeding socket of his eye. Who did this? Was it the king? Was it Wild? Guts looks at Rickard with his one remaining eye. The eye is dry. He has no tears left. "Griffith," Guts says. Just the name. It hangs in the air like a curse. Rickard freezes. What? No. Griffith is... Where is Griffith? Griffith is dead, Guts rasps, sitting up, his body screaming in protest. The brand on his neck bleeds, sizzling against his skin. That thing is not Griffith. He tries to stand. He falls. He tries again. He stands. He looks like a ruin of a man. The Skull Knight watches him. "You have survived the feast," the knight says. But the night is long, struggler. Guts laughs. It's a dry, hacking sound. "Struggle," he spits the word out. "I'm done struggling for dreams. I'm done with destiny." He looks at the horizon, where the dark silhouette of the castle still stands. He doesn't look like a hero. He looks like a walking disaster. He walks over to his broken sword. No, he doesn't have it. He has nothing. He is empty-handed. He clenches his one fist. "I'm going to kill him," Guts says. It's not a scream. It's a statement of fact. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to kill him. But here is the twist, the hook for the final chapter. In the original, Guts goes on a rampage immediately. He becomes the Black Swordsman to run away from his pain. But in this timeline, Casca is right there, and she is terrified of him. Every time he gets angry, every time the rage flares, she screams. She sees the monsters in him. Guts realizes he is trapped. He can't leave her to hunt Griffith because he promised to protect her. But he can't protect her because being around him draws the demons every night. The brand attracts them. He is a beacon of darkness. He has created a hell where the person he loves most can't stand the sight of him, and the person he hates most is a god who can't be touched. He sits by the fire that Rickard builds. The shadows stretch long. Guts looks at the flames and sees the faces of the hawks. Judeau, Pippin, Corcus. They are judging him. You stayed, they whisper. You let this happen. The beast of darkness opens its eyes fully inside his mind. It smiles. Let me out, it whispers. Let me take the pain away. We can kill them all, even her. Guts clutches his head. The physical war is over. The psychological war has just begun. And he is unarmed, one-armed, and utterly alone in a world that belongs to Femto now. We have arrived at the aftermath. The dust has settled, but the air is still choking with ash. You know how in the original story, Guts wakes up, realizes what happened, and immediately sprints into the forest to scream his lungs out. He runs. He leaves Casca behind for a bit to just process the horror. But here, in this timeline, he can't run. He is physically and emotionally tethered to the spot. He wakes up in Godot's cave, bandaged, missing an arm, missing an eye, his body a patchwork of stitched meat, and the first thing he hears isn't the wind. It's Casca. She isn't screaming anymore. She's humming, a low, broken, discordant hum that sends shivers down your spine. Guts tries to sit up, and the world spins. His center of gravity is gone. He falls off the cot, hitting the stone floor hard. Rickard rushes in, dropping a bucket of water. Guts, stop. You'll tear your stitches. But Guts pushes him away. He crawls. He has to see her. He has to confirm that she is real, that the eclipse wasn't just a nightmare. He is still trapped inside. He finds her in the corner of the cave, curled up in a ball, staring at a spider crawling on the wall. She looks small, fragile. This is the woman who commanded armies. This is the woman who could cut a man down while riding a horse at full gallop. Now, she looks like a porcelain doll that's been glued back together wrong. Guts reaches out. Casca, he rasps. His voice is a wreck. She turns. Her eyes are empty. There is no recognition, no love, no hate, just a void. And then she sees the brand on his neck. It's bleeding again. It triggers something. She recoils, scrambling backward, making a sound like a wounded animal. She's terrified of him, not because of who he is, but because he smells like the sacrifice. He radiates the energy of the thing that broke her. Guts freezes. He realizes in that second that he didn't save her. He just prolonged her suffering. He realizes that his very presence is torture to the person he sacrificed his arm to protect. Days turn into weeks. It's a slow, grueling purgatory. Godot, the blacksmith, watches Guts with a grim expression. In the canon, Guts leaves. He goes on the Black Swordsman hunt. He channels his pain into rage. But here, he can't leave Casca. He is the one who stayed, remember? That's his defining trait in this timeline. He stays. So, he stays at the mine. He tries to take care of her. He tries to feed her. She throws the bowl at him. He tries to wash her hair. She scratches his face. Every interaction is a battle, and every night the spirits come. The brand bleeds. The ghosts of the soldiers they lost, Judeau, Pippin, Corcus, they appear in the shadows, whispering, "Why are you still here, Guts? Why didn't you die with us?" Guts sits by the entrance of the cave, waving a torch at the darkness, sleep-deprived, hallucinating. He is fighting a war that no one else can see. He is a watchdog for a ghost. Rickert tries to be the bridge. He's the only one Casca tolerates because he wasn't there. He doesn't have the scent of the Eclipse on him. Rickert tells Guts news from the outside world. Midland is falling apart, he says. The king is dead. There's a plague. And there are rumors. Rumors of a White Hawk appearing in the west. A savior. Guts snaps the stick he's holding. He knows. He knows exactly who that savior is. Griffith isn't hiding in the dark. He's out there, playing the hero again. He's building his dream on the corpses of his friends. The injustice of it is so heavy, it feels like physical pressure on Guts's chest. Griffith gets the kingdom. Guts gets the cave. Griffith gets the glory. Guts gets the madness. The rage builds up, but it has nowhere to go. If he leaves to kill Griffith, Casca dies. If he stays, he dies inside. Then comes the moment that defines the future of this timeline. The apostles find them. It was inevitable. The interstice is leaking. One night, a pack of them, low-level ugly things that look like crosses between frogs and humans, swarms the valley. Guts is exhausted. He has a standard sword that Godo gave him. He charges out, but he's missing an arm. He misses his swing. He loses his balance. An apostle backhands him, sending him flying into a pile of scrap metal. He coughs up blood. He's weak. He's not the Superman we know yet. He's just a disabled veteran. The apostles laugh. They smell Casca inside the cave. They move past him. Guts tries to get up, but his legs won't work. "No," he groans. "Not again." He sees the apostle reaching for the entrance, reaching for Casca, and then he sees it, leaning against the wall of the forge, covered in dust and cobwebs. The slab, the dragon slayer. Godo called it a mistake, a heap of raw iron too big to be called a sword. Guts had looked at it before, but never touched it. Now, it's the only thing big enough to block the door. It's the only thing big enough to hide behind. Guts drags himself over. He grabs the handle with his one good hand. He grits his teeth so hard a molar cracks. He pulls. The metal scrapes against the stone. A screeching, hateful sound. It's heavy, impossibly heavy. But Guts isn't lifting it with his muscles. He's lifting it with his trauma. He thinks of Femto's eyes. He thinks of Judeau's smile. He thinks of the sound of Casca's mind breaking. He roars. It's a primal sound, the sound of a man rejecting his fate. He lifts the slab. He swings. It's not a graceful technique. It's a car crash. The sheer mass of the iron obliterates the apostle at the door. It doesn't cut. It smashes. Bones turn to powder. The monster is pasted against the rock. The momentum spins Guts around, and he plants the sword in the ground to stop himself from falling. He stands there, panting, looking at the giant blade. It fits. It fits the hole in his soul. It's ugly, rough, and crude. Just like him. The other apostles stop laughing. They sense a shift. They sense that the prey has just become a predator. Guts looks up, his one eye burning with a red light that matches the beast of darkness. "Come on," he whispers. "I need more." He slaughters them. It's messy. He takes hits. He gets bitten. But he doesn't stop. He uses the flat of the blade as a shield. He uses the reach to keep them away from the cave. He isn't fighting for glory. He is fighting for the square footage of ground that Casca is standing on. By morning, the valley is silent. Guts is sitting on a pile of corpses, leaning against the dragon slayer. He is covered in gore. Godo comes out, looks at the carnage, looks at the sword, and just nods. He understands. He goes back inside and starts working on something, a prosthetic, the cannon arm. If Guts is going to be a one-man army, he needs a surprise. But the victory is hollow. Casca comes out. She sees the blood. She sees Guts, and she screams. She runs back into the dark. Guts closes his eye. He saved her life, but he terrified her soul. This is his life now. He realizes that he cannot stay at the mine. He is a beacon. If he stays, Godo dies. Rickert dies. Casca will eventually be caught in the crossfire. He has to move, but he can't leave her. So, he makes the choice that sets this story apart. In the canon, he leaves her to hunt. Here, he takes her with him. He packs the supplies. He straps the dragon slayer to his back. He accepts the cannon arm from Godo. He looks like a monster. He walks into the cave and gently, forcibly, wraps Casca in a cloak. She fights him. She cries. It breaks his heart, but he does it. He ties her to his chest like a child so he can protect her while having his sword arm free. It's a burden, a physical and emotional weight that he carries every step. "We are going," he says to Rickert. "Don't follow us." "Where will you go?" Rickert asks, tears in his eyes. "There is nowhere safe, Guts." Guts looks at the horizon. The sun is rising, but it looks pale. "We're going to find a cure," Guts lies. He doesn't know if there is a cure. "And then I'm going to kill him." But as he walks away, the weight of the sword and the weight of the girl pull him down. He isn't the hunter. He is the prey that refuses to die. He walks into the mist, a tragic figure. The timeline has shifted permanently. Griffith will build Falconia unopposed by Guts for a long time. Guts will wander the edges of the world, fighting nightly battles just to see the sunrise, carrying a woman who hates him. But here is the secret, the final hook. As Guts walks, the Behalit, the one he took from the Count later in the canon, or perhaps one he finds in the wreckage, is in his pouch. It's not his, but it's there. And as he walks, the beast of darkness whispers, "Why struggle? Why suffer? You could have it all too. You could be a king. You just have to sacrifice the burden on your chest." Guts stops. He looks down at Casca, sleeping fitfully against his armor. He touches her hair. He remembers the campfire. He remembers the snow. He remembers the promise. "Get lost," he growls to the demon in his head. He tightens his grip on the dragon slayer. He keeps walking. The struggle continues. But this time, he isn't walking away from his humanity. He is carrying it with him through hell, daring the world to try and take it. The Black Swordsman is born, not out of vengeance alone, but out of a desperate, clawing need to protect the last fragment of the light he helped extinguish. And somewhere, in a castle far away, Femto sits on a throne of light. He pauses. He feels a ripple in the causality, a tiny, stubborn knot that refuses to be untied. He smiles, a cold, perfect smile. "Struggle then, old friend," he thinks. "Writhe in the mud. It makes the view from the heavens so much sweeter." The screen fades to black. The sound of the dragon slayer hitting the earth echoes one last time. Clang.